Okay, Paul, thanks for joining me today, mate. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule.
That's all right.
And you know that I'm big on saving you time, obviously. So I'm gonna stick to the 15 minutes that we said in this. But yeah, so just to create a bit of context about how we started working together, what was going on with you when you reached out when we first had a conversation?
Yes. One of my friends recommended you, who also works with you. I was in a position where I was promoted up to finance director. At that point, I had a CFO ahead of me, so I had a really good boss who would do loads and loads of work. So the two of us, we were like a double act. So I got promoted to finance director at the same time that he decided that he was going to leave the company. Great, I got a nice promotion. Ian unfortunately decided to leave. So I basically went from being in a very comfortable position, albeit life was still hard. I still had a lot of work. I didn't necessarily have a really shit hot team below me, but I had a CFO, and between the two of us, we could basically work our way through everything. So I went from that to almost, I was on my own. At the same time, I was doing my year-end audit. I was doing a financial due diligence piece with Deloitte. We were doing a full bottom-up budget for the entire business for the entirety of 2024. And basically, I just found myself that I was in a position where I couldn't do everything. I then started, my confidence really took a knock. I got the imposter syndrome massively because I thought, well, an FD should be able to do all of this, and an FD should have the capability of doing that, and I can't do everything, so that must be me. So my confidence took a massive hit. We were able to recruit an interim CFO to come in and help, and I just got to the point one Friday where I'd been asked to do this, do that. Why can't we get this out? Why isn't that sorted? And the final nail came when an email came through saying, Paul, we really need to get this report out. And I just turned my laptop off and walked home and walked out, got in the car and basically just broke down. And that was probably May time. And then quite quickly got in contact with yourself. I think we probably started talking around June, and then really hit it hard over the summer holidays, and almost just kind of re-baselining where my head was at, to be honest. And that was probably the hardest bit because I couldn't see the wood for the trees. I couldn't work out. I knew I had a billion problems. I couldn't tell you which problem was the problem that was causing me all the anguish and which problem was actually just noise and didn't make any difference. And I kind of think just having somebody to talk to that isn't part of the situation just helped give me a little bit more clarity and a little bit more drive and almost focus about actually I want you to complete 3 things this week. Don't worry about the rest is noise. But actually being able to isolate some bits and pieces and get it sorted. And that was summer last year. And we continued then on to kind of actually okay is kind of an all right place to be, but why don't you want to be good? And actually then progress through to where we are now. So yeah, it was those early couple of months last year I hated. It was horrible. And I really struggled, and I struggled with everything, home life, work life.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing all that, Paul. Really appreciate being so honest as well. And yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Well, one thing I want to give you credit for as well that not very many people do is actually reaching out to someone. I went through obviously different circumstances, but hitting that point, and then you can either just continue to tolerate it, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you probably would have got back up, lived a okay life, but you decided to live a lot more deliberately, right? And reach out and try and get someone to help.
Yeah.
And sort of as you said, right? Like the first step in a lot of these things is just having someone to talk to, right? Like someone impartial.
Yeah.
See it from a different perspective.
I still remember our first meeting. I think I had to do it on my phone because I couldn't, I don't know why. I ended up having to do it on my phone. I was sat in my car in the Sainsbury's car park doing it on my phone with the phone balanced on top of my on top of the steering wheel so that you could actually see me. Yeah, we've moved a long way since then.
Yeah, definitely. Like as you said, we started. I suppose one thing we did straight away was like try and get into action, right? Like when you're overwhelmed, when there's so much stuff in your plate, like the default way to do it is do nothing almost, right?
Yeah.
Or not really have a system
Yep.
for choosing. Whereas, we quite quickly just picked a couple of things for you to take some action on that you can control.
Yeah, and
the momentum, right?
the big one was I always knew that even the interim CFO and my new CFO, they're not doers. They're delegators, they're talkers, they bring people together, but they don't do that much. And I think not many people outside of the finance team actually appreciated how much my old CFO, he actually did a huge amount on a daily basis. So he was basically the equivalent of an extra head within the team. And I remember one of the first things that we actually sorted out was kind of the identification, you need an extra head. Yes, and I need a certain skill set. So it's not just a generic accountant. Actually, what I need is a very precise skill set. And over the course of July and then August, I recruited and I managed to get myself a really good number 2 who's an ex-auditor. And basically, he complements me. So we've got him on board. Now we need to make the most of him. So what are we going to do? Okay, we need to come up with a list. Let's make sure his first week is really well structured so that when he comes in, he's immediately adding value or immediately learning so that he can add value quite quickly. So it wasn't just about, and that was the key bit for me. It wasn't just that, cool, I've got someone coming in, that's that problem solved. Actually, that problem will only get solved if you then work on the next steps. So being really deliberate in my actions around what's his first morning look like, what's his first day look like, what's his first week, first month look like, what do I want to get, make sure that he's up to speed on this, up to speed on that, because only then would I reap the rewards 3-4 months later. Actually, this year end's been so much more easier, and at the same time this year end I've had an awful lot more external stuff going on. There's no way I could have managed that without him, and there's no way I could have done it without him being at the place that he was. So all that work we did back in September and October when he first started actually has meant that we've been able to survive.
Yeah. It makes me think of that analogy we talked about the whole time, that idea of player to coach, right? To manager. Actually, we went through 3, but the initial one was player to coach, you being stuck in everything, right, on the pitch, when you couldn't sit in the stands and see the strategy of the team. Whereas, we migrated when you got your big players in, right, your big name signings, you were able to dictate the strategy from the sidelines, right?
But I think also, I'm incredibly sporty. My life revolves around kind of sport when I'm not in work. Being able to link it to some sort of sports analogy really helped me identify where my weaknesses and strengths were. And as you say, being the star striker or the central midfielder pulling all the strings from a football point of view, or fly half dictating the game in a rugby game. Cool, that's really good. But actually, that's not what my job is now. My job is to be the team manager. So getting that transition and really identifying that there's a difference between the star player, coach, and a manager from a sporting context really helped me here go, hold on a minute. That's not the sort of role that a manager, Sir Alex Ferguson isn't going to go out and score the winning penalty. So why would I be thinking about getting on the pitch and scoring the winning penalty? I need other people to do that for me. And that just making it sound different or thinking about it in a different way massively helped me. It made me realize where I needed to go.
It's like simplifying, like you actually thinking about who you want to be, right, in that scenario, us creating this persona
Yeah.
almost, and then it makes it really clear on whether you're acting
Yeah.
or not, because I think we get confused sometimes and like, oh yeah, I need to act like I need to be a manager and then I'll take those actions. Whereas actually, what we did, we just come up with this idea, what does a coach do in this scenario? And therefore you just took those actions and then you became that person and your confidence grew with that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's also, Sir Alex Ferguson, Clive Woodward, they got all the accolades of being the successful manager, the successful coach. I think it was just that I was used to be getting accolades, if that's the right word, but the praise of being the star player, of being the Johnny Wilkinson on the pitch, not the Clive Woodward off the pitch. So that was definitely, and it was a mindset thing that actually being, brand pull, we refer to brand pull quite a lot. Enhancing the brand isn't necessarily about scoring the winning goal, the winning penalty, whatever. Actually, brand pull is about the team being successful, and then people kind of looking at, crikey, that team's doing really well, who's leading it, and kind of thinking about it that way as well.
And those like simple mindset shifts have like a big difference.
Yes.
When you take action on them. Are there any other ones that you can think of that we worked on?
Definitely the trying to not let things affect me so much. So again, thinking about brand pull, so I had one or two instances where I would be left out of conversations, and that used to be quite a hard thing for me to take. But actually trying to go into the concept of, does it really matter if you're in that call? Well, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But actually, there's not a lot you can do about it. If you haven't been invited, you haven't been invited. If that's happened without you, that's happened without you. A year ago, would have irritated, that would have irked me, that would have really wound me up quite a lot. Just trying to think more logically and less emotionally around those sort of things, and being quite happy with it, being quite okay with it.
I suppose there's a couple of things there, isn't it? It's like, one is that idea of focusing on things that you can't control and letting go of everything else that you can, right? Like that Stoic philosophy around that. And then this idea of like, default versus deliberate thinking. The default thought is, oh yeah, why are they not inviting me to this? But like, have I done something wrong? When actually just taking a step back and going, hold on, let me think about this logically, like use some facts rather than feelings to actually properly analyze it in the moment.
Exactly.
Another perspective. And then you realize, oh yeah, actually it's probably not about me. It's probably about the reason, you said there as an example.
Yeah. And it's been a massive, for me, it's been the hardest thing, I think, because I'm naturally quite loud. I am quite loud in the office, to be fair, but I like to join in. I like to be heard. I like to make my opinion heard. I like to get involved. And so to try and pull back from that has been quite a tough challenge for me. But actually, I kind of feel I'm in a better place now with peers and other groups within the company, because I am quite comfortable now sitting there in silence. And actually, I then think, when I do then add my opinion, because I've not been the main part of the main conversation, actually I get heard a bit more. So ironically, by doing that and by taking a bit more of a backward step and really thinking about it and being very informed in my conversation and what I'm going to say, I hit the point probably a little bit better, which then means that people listen to me better. And so it's a weird way of thinking about it, but I actually find I'm probably better at it now than I've ever been.
Yeah, no, great. And I don't want to take too much of your time up, but I was just thinking, you've talked about a couple of the positive changes that have happened. Like at the beginning, you were talking this idea of overwhelm and, so much going on, and walking out and having that breakdown in the car. And I remember very specifically like our first conversation as well. And, I've said this to you you even look like a completely different person, right?
Yeah.
In the 6 months that we worked together. Like, how are you feeling now?
I feel really, really good. That's not very descriptive. I've probably had my busiest ever January, February, March. There is so much going on. And I've worked some late nights and I've put in some real hours. But fundamentally, as a team, we've delivered on pretty much everything we've been asked to deliver. And there's been some massive things through. There's no way I could have done that this time last year because I couldn't have done it on my own. So actually, what I do know is that because I'm getting better at delegating, I've got more people who I can delegate to and who I can trust within my team to get my stuff done. It's meant that actually as a team, we've probably performed better now than we've ever performed. I'm not overwhelmed by it, and actually I'm quite enjoying it. I thrive off the workload. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind the odd Friday afternoon off, but it is so much better now than it was before. I can see the wood from the trees. I can help prioritize. I can still tell people, go away, this isn't important. I can delegate, I can feel controlled, and I don't get quite so wound up and snappy and frustrated with people. Whereas last year I was definitely getting wound up, snappy and frustrated with people.
Yeah, no, amazing. Thanks for sharing that, mate. And it's really interesting because it shows that, like, externally, there's actually been more to do.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's changed, right? It's actually got worse in inverted commas because of the volume that you've changed, right? And
Yep.
your whole perspective and the control that you have over things is purely down to you, right? The actions that you've taken, the mindset that you've chosen to adopt, and the responsibility that you've taken for your own life, right? So, like, massive kudos to you. I know I've said this to you lots of times recently, but, like, it's a massive compliment to you, all the actions that you've taken. So well done, man. And thank you.
I couldn't have done it kind of without you, but there's a few other people. Just being able to chat to a few people, having you there so that on the odd WhatsApp message, even though it's not my turn, it's not my day, just sending you a message. Actually, sometimes just sending you a message, just screaming, that felt better. Because I know you're not then going to take it personally and send something back to me going, no. Just having that ability to vent, actually, when I was going through it all was massive. And yeah, I am now reaping the rewards of it. So I'm feeling in a good place.
Amazing. And now it's, what are we going to create in the next 6 months, right?
Yeah, I've got some plans. There's some things coming up.
You definitely do. Amazing, man. All right. Thanks so much, Paul. Really appreciate it.
That's not a problem.
Thanks.
All right.